But without further ado, let's get right into the Lakers versus Nuggets series, guys. It was a 4-0 sweep. We were expecting Nuggets to win. We were expecting Nuggets to probably take the series comfortably, but we never thought that it would be a sweep. Lakers not winning even a single game. Guys, what do you think about the series?
Guys,
I
I
tried to tell
am
you in game one. I told y'all, go back and check the receipts. I said Denver has this in the bag. It's easy. I was wrong on the game 6 or the game 7, but I told y'all, like, it looked pretty easy to me. Like, even right now, the Celtics and like Miami, they're playing for second. I think Denver is ways ahead of every team in the playoffs. I think they showed that in that sweep.
I have a huge rant incoming, guys, so stay tuned. But look, I started this season off as the most disappointed fan in the world, right? It was 2-10. There was nothing that was going according to the Lakers' plan, right? Darvin Ham came in, nothing going right. Russell Westbrook is going to come off the bench. We heard entire off season, nothing happens. We're 2-10 down. Out of those two wins that we got in those 12 games, it was actually Denver Nuggets who had Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. and we still managed to win with Westbrook in the starting lineup, right? From that team, from that Lakers team, they go in. They were the perennial 12th seed. I remember the entire season. I would wake up at 8:30 in the morning and look at the standing. It was a perennial 12 to 13 seed. And I would wake up, wondering, okay, the Trailblazers lose today and Pelicans might lose today, and we jump up to 11. And I was making all these scenarios up that somehow we get into the play-in, right? Fast forward to the trade deadline, make some amazing trades, right? Rob Pelinka really got in his bag. I mean, that one Thomas Bryant with 5 second round picks for Mo Bamba did not work out much, but even Jared Vanderbilt, who did not play the last two games at all. I mean, those are all positive pieces. D'Angelo Russell played horrible in the last game, but these are all positive things to get Russell Westbrook off, get AD back in the lineup, right? And from that point, from the point where we were 2-10 down, right? I cannot say that this was a disappointing season for the Lakers, right, at this point in time. Because no one expected the Lakers to make it even in the play-in, right? And they won two series. They went up against the second seed. Arguably, they did not have a center at all. They did not have a center throughout that entire playoff run with the Memphis Grizzlies, right? But they still got them in five and got them in six. And I mean, that was great. And then Warriors. Now, there were a lot of things that we discussed with the Warriors, right? There were a lot of foul calls, there were foul baiting, and all these things. But at the same point in time, they got the win, right? So I cannot say this season was a disappointing run for the Lakers. They ended up with the Western Conference Final. Now coming back to this, there's no way you get swept and you do not call this a disappointing run, right? 4-0, you cannot with two of the best players in the league right now. AD having had one of the best defensive runs I've seen in a playoff series, and LeBron James. I mean, he's 38-year-old LeBron James, but he's still LeBron James at the same time. You cannot say this was a disappointing run. And there were a lot of close games. There were a lot of things. We called out Jamal Murray almost every game before our recap. I mean, even in our group chat, we were talking about Jamal Murray not being in the form. Oh, he's gonna drop off. This man averaged 32.3 points in those four games. These are not picked out stats, guys. He averaged 32 points in those four games. He was shooting the lights off the ball. He was shooting the skin out of that ball, and he was just going crazy. And that is my rant for right now. I have nothing to talk about the Lakers. We'll get back to the Nuggets, but Srijin, tell me, how do you feel about this Lakers season overall, and after this Western Conference sweep?
I was sad in the starting. My hopes got up, but then my hopes got crushed real bad when this happened. To be very honest, I was never expecting a 4-0 sweep. I mean, even after a humongous game by LeBron James, the game four that we were talking about, we would also see the betting stats at that point of time, and Lakers were the favorites in game four, and Nuggets were not. Uh, but still, Lakers did not show up. I am really disappointed in Anthony Davis. I mean, he's been what do you call it, inconsistent throughout the season. But I think so. The Lakers need a second man, and AD needs to be the third man on the team. I think so. That would probably
Oh,
sort the situation for Lakers because AD is not a very uh, what do you call it, respectable, dependable second man on the team because he's just been way off this particular series. And talking about being way off, let's not talk about D'Angelo Russ, okay? he was born in the team. He was the shooter that needed to be there. He was the person who needed to show up. But then we all thought that this D'Angelo Russell in the Lakers team is probably different, but he's the same D'Angelo Russ, the
D-Lo for the
playoff Russ.
three.
I mean, we saw a clip of him practicing after the game four loss. I mean, I don't know what he was doing at that point of time. It was done for. I think so. He was practicing, or he
He's
was
chasing that
preparing
bag
for
for
it.
the off season.
Yeah, yeah. He was probably recording a clip to show to the Chennai China teams. Sorry, not Chennai, China teams to
Maybe
probably
could
audition
be
for them.
Chennai teams at this point. I mean,
Right. The Angelo Dust has been very, very disappointing. I mean, I was
the
really not
China team
expecting a
looks
series.
full at this. The CBA looks full at this point, man. Like
Yeah, but
with
Dylan
so
Brooks
many
as
players.
the teammate, I think so. They'll go well along with
Dylan
each
Brooks,
other.
DeAndre Russell are going to be like, I don't know, Penny Hardaway and T Mac in that team.
Hell no,
Probably
bro. They
leading
still can't shoot.
the China teams to
For sure,
final.
leading them.
Right. I mean, so that is what it was. It was disappointing. I don't have anything to say. I'm just disappointed. I mean, I at this point of time after the 4-0 sweep, I even texted in the group that I am probably not coming back for this podcast because I
So, guys, we
really can't
finally have an
follow.
answer for why we got delayed for the podcast.
Yeah, because
Little
LA
declared
Lakers lost
retirement, and
4-0.
we had to force him out of the retirement for this
Yeah.
podcast.
And
So
the only reason Sujin is back right now is because the Celtics are in a game 7. We'll talk about that later.
yeah,
But
as soon as he saw LeBron say that he has a lot of things to think about in the offseason, he was like, "I'm done too."
Yeah, I was like,
Done.
LeBron is considering retirement. I am considering retirement as well.
guy, right before we jump into the Nugget section, what do you think about LeBron's post-game comments? And Rob Pelinka said that we're not gonna have LeBron do the exit interview. We want to give him his time and him to think about his journey and everything. What do you think is going to be LeBron's decision? This feels a lot like that Miami storyline, if you
Nah,
remember back in that day.
no. Yeah, I do. I mean, but I feel like it's LeSwept doing the GM things. He's just trying to bait like everyone else or like the Lakers to better the team. It's not in seriousness. I don't think he's considering retirement at all. It was just to change the narrative from him being swept again to maybe, oh, he's retiring, because we all know that this is all that we're gonna hear for the whole off season now. That, oh, is LeBron retiring? Is he moving to a different team? What's happening? Are they changing the Lakers? He's just shifting the narrative, and I think it's more so trying to put a little bit pressure on his
For
maybe his
sure.
GM and
I
stuff
mean,
like that.
with everything with Kyrie Irving too, with Dallas Mavericks, and a report just came out with NBA Central that said that Kyrie Irving and Mavericks are looking forward for a sign and trade. That puts a lot of pressure on the Lakers front office, especially even with LeBron retirement or not. Kyrie Irving could be someone that Lakers, with all the assets, 2 to 3 picks probably that they have still from the Pelicans trade that are remaining and the 17th pick this season. They have a couple of things that could make it, but that's a talk for the off season. But I think mostly it's all about putting pressure on the front office to get them back to this groove, right? He put a
For sure.
lot of pressure, and that's what made Rob Pelinka uh, look for this uh, trade deadline deals, right? And the trade deadline, we heard a lot talk about Russell Westbrook for Bojan Bogdanovic at the start of the season. We looked at a lot of things. Mike Conley was a player that was thrown around. All these players, and
I don't know
as
if
much
like
as these
Kyrie will
players did
make it.
not do well, as much as these players did not play well, they did strike out on some of these players. And for the regular season, Vanderbilt, Russell, these players obviously gave their heart out for the team, and that's why they got into that position to make the playoffs even so. And they had some games here and there too. So Pelinka has a lot, and LeBron too has a lot on their plate. But I'm pretty sure LeBron is not gonna retire this season.
Especially
I
not
mean,
after
there's
being
no
swept
point.
like that. I don't think so. I don't think so. That's not like LeBron. I think he wants the narrative to be better than being swept and then just retiring. And like you said about the team, I feel like this was the first time that I felt like they created a team around LeBron rather than just trying to force players around LeBron. Other than that 2020 season in the Lakers, and and we saw it work, at least to the conference finals where it kind of crashed and burned. But it met with a very, very well organized team, a very well structured team, a team that was on fire. It had chemistry, it had everything. It was really like Lakers 2.0. It was the team that was a well oiled machine from day one, and it was performing on that level throughout the year. And it was the reason like they were the number one seed, right? And it showed, right? And it's not just the Lakers that they kind of crushed, and I feel like they'll still crush anybody who gets to the finals, regardless of who it is. So I think the Lakers should take some pride in that. It's not that they were so bad. I mean, to get swept, it's always disappointing, I guess, but they lost to a very great team. So they can take some solace in that. But yes, you obviously always want to tool up in the offseason and get better as a team. So yeah, I think that's what LeBron is trying to hint at. But just as a funny side note, the Warriors have the second best odds after him retiring and staying on the Lakers to acquire LeBron apparently.
That
I
would
don't
be
think
great.
that's gonna happen because like that's not like LeBron to do. But yeah,
I mean,
that's
that was
just
what
a
we were
funny side note.
discussing the other day as well. That would be crazy and would take LeBron James, a Warriors team, with the shooters all around him, with the and LeBron just going for the defensive and moving in the paint. That's what LeBron would need in the future to win a championship. But what do you think, guys? Do you think that Lakers, what changes do Lakers need to make after this sweep? Do you think they need to probably drop D'Lo, bring in Kyrie? What all do you think that could be the changes for the Lakers?
Kyrie would really be an upgrade over D'Lo for sure, but he's not much more of an offense. Like he's not. I don't think he's willing to pass that ball that much, and I think he's very much an ISO player at this point. When they won in 2016, he was still like under the wing of LeBron, and I think after that, all he wanted to do was break out of that, and all he wanted to do was prove that he's that guy, and I think he tried that. Now he's failed miserably, even more so than Durant maybe. So I feel like he does want to come back to the Lakers, but I don't know if that will be a good fit. And maybe he's a decent fit on the court because like LeBron will know how to manage him. But I don't know if he's very good for the chemistry of a team. I don't know if he's a good teammate per se. He can
True.
be very selfish in his talks, and he can be very selfish just in general. I mean, I guess we all are. I'm not faulting him for that as a person, but I'm just saying that that's just sometimes not the best for a team, and for a team that had such good chemistry, and that was one of the reasons why they made it to the conference finals. I feel like that might hinder with their operation, but who's to say that it doesn't just work out like 2016 or like before, right?
But then
For
that
sure.
would mean if Kyrie comes back to Lakers, that would mean that they do not have enough money in the bank. They wouldn't have enough picks in the bank to build a
Yeah,
team around those
that would hurt the depth again. That's what I'm
Right.
usually against, like pairing up two or three big stars to just completely deplete the depth of the team and to just be very top heavy. That has not worked in the recent past, except for that Warriors team, which, to be honest, was not cut off from the depth just because that was a unique situation wherein Steph was getting paid really less, and that meant that they could acquire KD and not suffer on the depth end. And other than that, honestly, it hasn't worked in the recent past. We can see the Nets or multiple other teams where it has not worked, right?
Even the Miami team probably had a lot of problems, and if it wasn't like a prime LeBron, we would have not seen a lot of success for that team too. I mean, you know, Kyrie and everything aside, I think the biggest thing that this team really requires is a center who can probably play with and without Anthony Davis right now, because I
So
mean,
you're
day to
going
day
for that cat
basis,
look, right? You're going
I
for that cat Gobert look? Would you really want
no,
another
not
non-shooter?
really, but Cat and Gobert are a very different matchup because I mean, Gobert can't space the floor at all. You need him at the center,
So
but
you'd want
meanwhile,
a spacing center, right?
yeah,
Like
I
a
mean,
floor
I
spacing
have
center.
two,
But wouldn't that be expensive as hell?
I have two
Can
people in
can
my,
the
I have
Lakers
two
roster
people in my,
really?
I have two people in
Okay.
my mind right now, right? So there's Nas Reed first of all. I mean, Timberwolves have said that they're willing to let him go for cheap, and they're willing to let him go for free.
Really?
Yeah. This was a really big thing
Whoa,
during the
okay.
trade deadline,
I
where
guess I
I mean,
guess we know why Timberwolves are Timberwolves.
yeah, exactly. And Nas Reed has been playing. I mean, we all saw that graphic where he was averaging like 20 and 10 whenever he started in like 30 games that he ever started with the Timberwolves in 4 seasons. But the Timberwolves don't have a center at all. Don't need a center at all who can get a lot of minutes because they're already giving it to two players
Bro, like
almost 35
that's
minutes.
that's the only center that works on that team, and they're willing to let
Exactly.
him go for tea.
And they're willing to let him go. And if I am the Lakers right now, I am in the Nas Reed sweepstakes at all the time. Now there's
But I
one
I
more
think
player that
almost all teams would be at
yeah,
this point
for
because
sure.
of his potential. He can play the defense down low, up high. He can work against like offensive. He can
And
work
he's
in
a
your
good
offensive
three-point
units,
shooter.
down low, threes, everything. He's the complete package. He's like
Exactly.
that shooter that you would want, and I think
Now
every
the
team is
thing,
going after him.
yeah,
But
the,
LA has that advantage wherein they usually get free agents just because of LA being LA,
yeah, that's
and
the
like they
only
have that
thing that
added
you're
factor of
scared of right
LeBron
now.
being there.
Yeah, that's the only
So
thing I'm scared of, right? Because now a lot of players are thinking, yeah, I can, there are two types of players that thrive with LeBron, right? There's one that get that back the next season, either with that
yeah,
team or with another team, and there's one that, everything goes far and bad, and they just drop all the leverage that they had. So, like,
it's a lot of
I mean,
pressure playing with LeBron as it is, but like playing with LeBron in LA, oof, that's a lot.
in
That's
one of his
that's a
last
lot for
seasons
sure.
too. Yeah. So there's one more thing that's coming into public eye, which is Brook Lopez is on us last year, and he might
So
be
yeah,
looking out. And I mean, his last season with the Lakers was really bad. I mean, it did not work out to anything. I think it was the season right after Kobe left, and that was a
oh
Lakers mess. It was like the 2017-2018 seasons, one of those seasons that it was one of the
yeah, but
bad
like
seasons.
the Lakers overall were just kind of bad at that point, right?
Yeah, but again, these are two centers that can definitely play with AD. They can play without AD. These are not players that are looking for a lot. I mean, Nas Reed would
That would
probably
be a
get like
monster defense. If you get away
exactly.
from AD, you get Brook Lopez. Oh,
That would be something else. I mean, Lakers are right now the best, one of the best defensive teams from the trade deadline from All Star Weekend, right? And if you have entire season of Brook Lopez, and I mean, like a good season of Anthony Davis playing more than 50, 60 games, I mean, Lakers could definitely be one of the best defensive teams. And
ooh,
I think,
like thinking of games played, do you think LeBron will play the whole season next year,
oh
or do you
damn,
think
no,
he just
no.
do
I
you think he
think
just sits
LeBron, this
out
is their
willingly like load management?
yeah,
Kawhi
for
type?
sure. I mean, see, LeBron played around 60 games this season, right? And this was with a team where they needed him to play. I think with the moves that they could make. I'm not putting this on Rob Pelinka again. I don't think like we could have another trade deadline like we had last season. I don't want to put all my eggs in that basket again. But if we get a decent overall team with, a I'm not saying we're getting Kyrie Irving and Nas Reed in the same season. That would be amazing. But if we get decent players who can, score the ball a bit, Austin Reeves is not falling off. See, the thing that Austin Reeves really capitalized on was that no one knew how to defend him because no one had any tape of him, right? Now defenses are looking at him one season gone and they know how to defend him. They're not going to let him take those easy threes. They were giving a lot of threes to Austin Reeves throughout the
Yeah,
season,
like
and he was making them completely open threes, right?
similar to what we saw sort of with Jordan Poole, right? We thought
Exactly.
we'd see him take another step this year, but like a lot of teams knew how to guard him now. So they he kind of like fell off
Yeah,
really
it, that,
badly.
that's the entire rookie to sophomore transition, right? Because when you're a rookie, you don't teams don't know how to defend you, and when you become a sophomore, they're more catched up to how to game plan around your weaknesses. And for sure, Austin Reeves has his weaknesses. So I'm not expecting a blowout 20 points per game season from Austin Reeves, but I want him to play a similar role to how I thought Malik Beasley would play. Giving you like 15 points here and there, couple of rebounds, couple of assists, running the
You
floor.
think
That's
he's
the
out of
entire.
there? I think he
I
is.
hope not. I mean, if we get Kyrie Irving in a
The
center, then
GM.
probably he is. But I think LeBron
Let
has
GM cleaning up house after 4-0, bro.
that for sure could be a thing. But I mean, he let go Alex Caruso too. So who knows
Yeah.
what happens with that? I mean, I can say this: Alex Caruso was nowhere near offensively what Austin Reeves is, but Austin Reeves is nowhere near all defensive Alex Caruso in that defense too. So I mean, it's a bit of an overlap at the same point in time. But switching from the
Bro.
team that has gotten swept to the team that swept the Lakers, let's move on to the Nuggets now because this team, I mean, I had my hopes high with them. I think Jokic is one of the best players in the league right now. He's always fun to watch. He's one of the favorite players to watch during the season, and he showed me that he's the best center in the league. There's no way Anthony Davis even comes close to him because Anthony Davis could not take a rebound out of Jokic's hands when he was standing there. Jokic was there every game. I mean, we were talking about him not making those funky ass short jump shots and that
Bro.
he did not miss for 4 games straight.
Bro, like those shots, like they had no chance of fucking going in, but they were going in. Like whatever
Exactly.
he put up, like it was like whatever he was touching was turning to gold at that point. Like what he threw up anything. He was throwing up mad prayers, and it was everything was just going in. Cash,
He
cash,
had,
cash.
you remember he had an interview where he was like, I just look at the place I want the ball to go and it goes there. And that was
Yeah.
with him giving the shots. It was like, he saw the
He
basket
had
and he was like,
insist
I am
on, bro.
throwing that ball up. He had aimbot on for sure. he he put those difficulty down to rookie. He made basket making to 100%, and he was making every shot. And it was completely amazing to see Jokic and Murray just be back on that bubble performance. It gave me nostalgia to that Clippers Nuggets run where they destroyed Clippers in those last 3 games. They absolutely demolished two of the best perimeter defenders, one of the best, I mean, two-time defensive player of the year, and in his prime player, right before the injuries too. I mean, this was a player
Yeah.
who came off a Finals MVP run. This was not that Spurs Finals MVP where they gave him for defending LeBron. This is a run where he actually, even with a depleted Warriors team, he was the best player on that Raptors team, and he was the reason why that took 3 bounce shot went against the Philly, why they won against the Bucks, and they demolished that player. They made him look like KCP out there.
Bro, KCP is the one who swept y'all right now. You
I
can't
mean,
talk
he
I
shit
mean,
about him.
it
You
was it
can't
was
talk
very
shit about
surprising
him.
to
He
see
just
him.
swept y'all.
It was surprising. He gave us a great performance this particular series. We're talking about KCP, we're talking about MPJ, we're talking about Bruce Brown. All of them three. I mean, if it was Jokic and Murray, I think so. MPJ, KCP, and Aaron Gordon and Bruce Brown are also a big
Yeah,
party to what happened. It was. I mean,
for sure. Yeah.
LeBron and AD were also close to what the scoring record was of scoring averages of the two, but the rest of the team did not look
Mm,
as good as
no,
they should have
yep.
looked in their particular series. And also LeBron
See,
missing
that's
those.
that's what we like even previewed before, right? Like that's what my preview was, that even if they match up, the Denver Nuggets as a team are much better than the Lakers, right? They which just showed like they had more chemistry. It was simple baskets. Aaron Gordon was just cutting off the basket. It was just simple offense for them and easy offense for them. And like that's what I said even in my preview. Like Bruce Brown can be a X factor. Aaron Gordon was, according to Angad, Aaron Gordon could have been an X factor, and all of them showed up in different games, and all of them showed up in different moments. And that's what makes a championship team, right? When just different players show up at different points of time. We saw that with the Lakers in the Warriors series,
What a
where
series.
different role players showed up to get them that series win, right? And similarly, that's what happened to them over the course of that Nuggets series, wherein just every other night a different player was on and you just couldn't stop them, right? It was KCP game one, it was Jamal Murray in game two with that just crazy fourth quarter. Just different players showing up at different times and just their stars being their stars. Like you pointed out, Srijan, like AD had a very good game one. LeBron had a very good game in game 4, and they had overall good to decent series, right? But what kind of ended up being the difference was the role players, right? Denver just had way more depth. Denver just had way more better players. Like even down to Christian Braun, like they had a complete rotation of just very amazing players. Just everybody was stepping up. Whoever was called on to get on the floor, it was just like, bro, like it didn't even feel like they were second unit guys. It felt like everybody was a starter at that point. Like
For
Uncle
sure.
Jeff, Christian Braun, Bruce Brown, Aaron Gordon, everybody was kicking in, and just like you knew about the top three, right? You knew about MPJ, you knew about Jamal Murray, you knew about Jokic, right? But like everybody on that team was just kicking in.
You know what?
I mean, the
I
best
have a
part that
go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Sunil, go ahead.
No, no, I'm just saying that they took pressure very well on them. I mean, they were
Hmm.
in pressure in a couple of games where the games were really, really, really close moving forward. But I think so. Lakers, I was not expecting Lakers to do that with the kind of experience that they have with the two guys that are playing in their prime, not in the primes, but are playing on the teams, the two superstars they have. I was expecting Lakers to not choke, but what happened was in many of those games was that local Lakers choked in the last. We saw the LeBron not making two game tying shots in the in game 4. He also missing that shot in game 2, if I'm not wrong, when they were
I
the
think he
steal
ran out of
by
gas on those plays, man. Like that's where the edge shows. Like the LeBron fans don't want to admit that he's getting old, but that's where you can see that he is getting old. It's it's not so much in his athleticism because he saves himself for those plays at times, but it's just that he doesn't have that gas anymore. He doesn't have that extra cylinder anymore. Wherein when he swept those Raptors, one seeded Raptor teams, you could just see he was on the go from just tip, and he would just end the
that's
game. He
expected.
would ice
That's
the game.
expected. That's expected with
Exactly.
the
Like
kind of
at
injury
this
that he
age, we
has.
we kind of need to accept the fact that LeBron is old and he's gonna miss some of those plays and he's gonna need someone else to close out games. You can't even expect or put that pressure on him. And if you are, you kind of are setting yourself up for failure at this point because how much do you expect him to score at age 39 or like at age 40, right? He can use his IQ, he can make plays here and there, but you can't really expect him to have those games with 50 and close out games and just close out one seeded teams anymore. It just won't happen. He can't carry teams anymore. You need to build a very good team around him.
I mean, yeah, LeBron probably. I mean, it's controversial and it's a hot take. LeBron would probably not be the first player on the next team. He shouldn't have the load on as the first player. He needs at least another star
To
on the
me,
team
it's
who
not a
could probably.
controversial take, and I think I've been saying that
I
for a
mean, a lot of
long
people
time
won't
now.
agree. That is what I'm trying to
Yeah,
say.
for
I
sure.
mean,
Yeah.
controversial in the sense that people will not agree to this fact, but LeBron needs to be the number 2 guy and not be the number 1 guy because
Yep.
also he would things would be better with his injury surgery that he gets. I'm expecting things to be a bit better. The stamina won't come back, but I think so with the thing that he has in legal in his foot, he would play more confidently, more freely moving forward. But we know how injury prone LeBron is. Probably the injury comes back next season, and we see the same LeBron. But if he has a star uh who could probably take a lot of pressure off from him, which AD is not, I think so LeBron would look like in a much better shape next season and probably could win another ring.
But
And
I
that
feel like we've been saying that about all of his co-stars forever, in like for all of his career, that he doesn't have help. He doesn't have help. Whenever he loses, he doesn't have help, and whenever they win, it's like, oh, LeBron just got them that win. So which is it, Lakers fans or LeBron
Which is
fans?
happening, Rudranj. See, he does not have help, and when they win, it is LeBron James carrying them moving forward. I mean, whenever he pushes the pedal, pitches on the
Even
gas,
on those
Lakers
blown
win.
layups, even when he misses game tying shots, it's not
It
his fault.
happens. That is what I'm saying. That he is always given the pressure of delivering at the front. Why is there no one else taking the pressure? He is. What I'm trying to say
But
is
isn't
that
that what a
if he
goat is
puts it,
supposed to do?
no. You also need to understand the kind of age that he is in, Rudraj. You also need to understand the kind of stamina
But
that
is
this
he
person has.
aging or is he not? Is he still the
He
goat
is
or
aging. He's
is he
aging.
aging?
He is the goat, but he's still aging. He's an aging goat. Why can't a goat be aging? That's what the question needs to be. I
You
mean,
can't be the
every
goat
goat
and
needs to be.
duck pressure at this point. Like
No, no, I'm
if
not
you are
talking
the
about
goat, you
pressure.
don't duck pressure.
What I'm trying to, the only point that
You're
I'm
saying
trying to
that
put
he
forward
needs to
is
be the second option on his team. Then how is he the goat?
he is the goat. I mean, the kind of status that he's. So it is not that if you are the second man on the team, you're not the goat anymore. The goat is the kind of greatest. We're talking about greatest of all time. We're not talking about greatest in this particular season. If he's not the greatest, I mean, if MJ was not, MJ had a terrible few last seasons that he has. Wasn't he the goat back then? Isn't he regarded as the goat right now? It does not. The goat
Not on his Wizards
debate does not.
seasons. Nobody really considered him the GOAT at that point.
But
He
he
was
is.
considered the
But
GOAT during his like Chicago run, wherein he was
But
always
then
the number
again,
one option.
you can look at it from that perspective, right? If LeBron probably retired after the 18th season, you'd be looking at this guy just went for 8 consecutive final runs, and I mean,
Yep.
props to MJ. I mean, he ended his season at the high, and we did not really look at those last two Wizard seasons at all. But I mean, he did take a break from NBA, and this man has been in
Mm.
the NBA for the last 20 years, and he's been in the top 10 ever since the ever since his rookie season, right? After his rookie season, we saw him as a player who is probably an all-star going into that season. We saw him, he had the entire hope and dreams of the city that had never
Mm.
won ever in any sports division. I remember that being one of the biggest things that, Cleveland Cavalier fans used to hate LeBron on, that he went to another team to win a championship, and Cleveland had never won a sports championship in any major sports division team in the United States. And at the same point in time, he goes in and he comes back and uh, he comes back and he says that Cleveland, this is for you when he won, right? And you can look at the GOAT thing in two ways, right? You can look at it being just going out after quitting when you're at the highest, or it's about longevity. My bad. But at the same point in time, I mean, LeBron is one. He shows how long his career is. He's shown how even right now we do not consider this as his prime. Right? No one considers 2020 even the bubble run to be his prime at all. But at the same point in time, you think about it, you see it all. I think a lot of what Srijan said does have its merits, right? When LeBron did go down with that injury, when we were, when we had one of the toughest runs with Memphis,
Of
and then we
course,
had the
you'd
Raptors.
agree. You're a LeBron fan.
Of course, I
Why?
would
Why
agree,
wouldn't
but
you think?
no. But the thing is, even during that run, Anthony Davis was the best player on the Lakers team, and even in the Memphis series, I mean, LeBron James is the best player in the world. Sorry, is not the best player in the world anymore, but he is my goat. But at the same point in time, Anthony Davis was the best player in that entire Lakers series. I felt even through everything, even through the 18 points and 20 rebound games, I thought Anthony Davis, what he brought defensively, what he brought with his rebounding and with his defense, I thought he was the best player. And in the game three, it changed when he obviously had that uh, overtime win. And in that Warrior season, it definitely changed with Anthony Davis being, hunted on defense a lot of times by Steph Curry. I mean, he got the better of them even in through 6 games. But in this series, after game one, I did not see any gleam of any spark from Anthony Davis, even being the second best player on that team. I mean, Dennis Schroeder sometimes gave me more intensity than Anthony Davis, and that shows to the fact. And this is a different
Yeah,
debate
the
that we can,
intensity for
yeah,
flopping.
the intensity for flopping. But we've talked about this a lot of times, right? That if you put Russell Westbrook's engine into Anthony Davis, he would be Shaq 2.0. He would be Shaq 1.0. He would
Bro, like,
probably be
but
even
that's
better
the
than
thing.
Shaq.
Kobe even talked about this, that if Shaq had his drive, he'd be the greatest of all time, right? But that's
Yeah.
usually what you do not get with players who are like maybe gifted in size or athleticism. They don't tend to go as hard as the guys who have to have
Yeah.
skill or who have to just go
I
on
mean,
that
James
drive, right?
Harden said that about Giannis too.
I mean, not in the brash way that he said it, but there's some merit to
Yeah,
that fact that
I do get it.
guys
I
who
mean,
have to build up skill, like maybe Kobe wasn't the most athletic player ever, or he wasn't the tallest player ever. So he had to build some skills wherein he built in that shot or that fadeaway, wherein he could shoot from different angles, or where he was guarded by different like coverages, or just he had those angles, right? He was just so obsessed with that game that he built up that skill, even though he had that athleticism come with him, but he wasn't like Shaq athletic. He wasn't that size or that power, right? So I feel like players that have some sort of advantage as a size or athleticism, they tend to go less hard with the game. And I think that's just the way that distributed, like players with less skill or like less athleticism or less god-given gifts, they tend to go hard, and that's just the engine that they're built with, right? And you just have to take the good with the bad. And I think when
For
AD
sure.
is he looks like one of the best players ever, but when he's off, he's just off. That, and we have tons of players that are like rhythm players, but it's generally just seen on the offensive end. Like you see them go on and off just because their shot is on and off, right? But with AD, it's like he completely disappears. It's almost like he's just a better version of Cat, wherein Cat can
Ooh,
be on for like 15 minutes and then just completely disappears for the next 3 games, 4 games. So
ooh, ooh,
he's just a better
definitely.
version of Cat to me.
I mean, this is something we can discuss the entire off season for. Who is the
Yep.
better player? Does LeBron deserve a
Who's the
lot
GOAT?
more?
Who
Who's
isn't?
the goal?
What do the Lakers do? Yep.
Exactly. I mean, and we're gonna jump into that in the off season.